So I'm not even sure if the camera's gonna pick anything of this up, but I was thinking about LD50 and what it means and how it could be constructed. LD50, if you don't know, is lethal dose for 50%, which means that theoretically you could have LD0, LD100, and so, which made me think that theoretically speaking, everything has LD50. Which means everything theoretically is a toxin. Everything is toxic. But some things have such high LD50 that you can't consume that much in normal time. LD50 for water on an animal is more than 90 milliliters per kilogram of mass, meaning if a rat would have 1 kilogram, if you were to give it 90 milliliters of water, there's a 50% it would die. Well, not a 50% that it would die, but if you had 100 rats, all with 1 kilogram mass, if you were to feed all of the 100 rats with 90 or more milliliters of water, 50% of them would die. Quite interesting. In this table that I'm looking at, that's at Wikipedia for medium lethal dose, water is at the top, meaning you need to consume the most of it to achieve the desired effect. Vitamin C, ascorbic acid, is it ascorbic? A naturally occurring organic compound with antioxidant properties. 11,900 milligrams per kilogram of mass. That's 12 grams approximately. Quite... oh, not that much actually. If one painkiller approximately is 1.5 grams, 10 painkillers of water. By the way, I'm listening to mindfulness, relaxing music for meditation, calm music for stress relief, sleep and massage. Also Johnny Cash, Hurt. Very powerful song. Have it all, my pile of dirt. Dash. Nebo se temni, kakor senca med ljudi, katere ljubezen le še mori. A ne obstaja tema brez luči, kakor sonce brez ljubezni ne žari. Saj ta, ki trpi, ljubezni srce zloma. Se vselej močnejši prerodi. Dež gre in pada, ter mene v obraz zbada. Ta reka in voda, rdeča in modra. Da, glava ne vdaja. Glava se ne vdaja, čeprav spomin močno zavaja. Več izgubil sem jih srca, kot spomin se da jih pozna. Kot spomnim se, da jih pozna. Deszcz gry in pada, Termena obraz spada, ta reka in voda, rdeča in modra. Da, glava se navdaja, čeprav spomin močno zavaja. Več izgubil sem jih srca, kot spomnim se, da jih pozna. Le solze so še iskrene, kakor črne žena koprene. You could have it all, my empire of dirt. I will let you down, I will make you hurt. Johnny Cash. It just makes you think how many people we lose in our life. Almost feels like we lose more people than we meet. I'm writing a mail to my high school professor of my native language because I want to see her opinion. She was also my class representative class representative teacher. I wrote greetings in my free time. I follow the rhymes, or at least try, and from time to time I write a story, and I was interested if you would like to read them and tell me what you think about them. Now I'll have to come up with titles. For them. I've also made a Google spreadsheet table in which each box represents a week of my life, from birth to approximately death. You should also listen to Johnny Cash, God's Gonna Cut You Down. Screen is so reflective. You can't even see stuff. Oh well, this Chromebook was about 300 to 400 euros, and I think you could get it in America for $300. So yeah, not many boxes left, and I've decided, or at least, yeah, I've decided that I want to release at least one video per week, because I don't know if you saw it, but I guess I could take an image of it. Some boxes are green, and those represent the days, well, the weeks that I did make a video. Terrible. Anyways, I don't think I'll make titles. Maybe one day, but not now. The thing about Slovenian language is that there's so many ways you can fold a word. And like French, each word has a gender, either male, female, or genderless. Like window is genderless, and a child, a baby, child, is also genderless. Johnny Cash, the man comes around. I've also been playing around with, plot generator. Ain't No Grave by Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash has such powerful music. Can hold my body down. Ain't no grave can hold my body down. Can hold my body down. Body down. Can hold my body down. Everything felt endless and it excited me. Also, if you haven't checked out, or if you haven't heard of, do check out Jake Rupert from Vsauce. Nebulsă temni, ca corsența nerlivie. I think the neighbors are vacuum cleaning their car, maybe. Johnny Cash. I see darkness. I guess I could translate this. I guess I could translate this into English, but in English they won't rhyme. First line: the sky is getting darker. I guess I'll just read them, translate them on the go, without explaining the structure, but still. The sky is darkening, like shadow among people whom love only suffers. Is it suffers? Let me check. You should really check out Johnny Cash. Yes. Suffers. But No darkness exists without light, as heart without love doesn't glow. As the one that suffers love, heartbreak, eventually reborn stronger. Света ki trpi, sveta ki trpi, ljubezni srce zloma. Sveta ki trpi, ljubezni srce zloma, so vselej močnejši prerodni. If you'll be searching for all of these, you'll have them in your email. Just search for Zanima me vaše mnenje -Luta. Have you ever thought about the reason radio, which is it? Idiom. Idiom. I've lost my train of thought. Quite interesting when you think about it. Because how can you lose a train? Right? Idiom. Idiom. A group of words established by usage as having a meaning not deductible from those of the individual words. Example: rain, cats and dogs. See the light. A form of expression neutral to a language, person or group of people. A dialect, the dialect of a people or part of a country. A characteristic made of expression in music or art. Losing your train of thought. All of these idioms could also be called metaphors, and because they hold so much meaning behind, that's also why the poems I mostly write in my native language, Slovenian language, because Slovenian language is so much more complex than English language. Like with few words you can tell so much more than you can with English. But that is why the stories that I write in English, because it's easier to tell someone something in English. It's an easier language to me personally to tell a story with. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, back to writing email. Rain goes and falls and pokes me in the face. This river and water, red and blue. Yes, head does not give, even though memory strongly. What's the English word for that? Tricks? I guess tricks. You see, this is what I meant. It's hard to translate such a word because it has so much meaning, because the language is so old and it managed to build itself up. Like when people started to use language in the beginning, even English language, they didn't have idioms, metaphors and such. They built those by using the language. By the way, I'm back to the relaxing music. Even, yes, the head does not give doesn't mean that your head or neck is strong, but it means that your mind is standing still, yet still moving. It's strong and in a way confident. And then the second part, even though the memory is stricken very strongly, meaning your mind is strong, but your memory is gone, I guess something like this could be said for people that suffer from Alzheimer's, although many of them do in due time, due to age, start to lack the strength of the mind. I've lost more from my heart than I remember that my heart knows of. Lecz zgubił se mi serca, choć wspomnim se, da ich poznam. This is also very powerful. No, do note that everything I say here is my personal opinion, because in the end everything can change, even the LD50 is my personal opinion, because it can all change. I've noticed that the light on the camera changed from violet to blue, whatever that means. It's quite interesting that whilst I'm recording, I'm also charging the camera and it's still losing battery life, and oh, it's very, very hot as well. So yeah, več izgubil sem jih iz srca, kot spomnim se, da jih pozna. And I've lost more people from my heart than my heart even remembers knowing them. When I was buying this laptop, I wanted to have a very good monitor, so the display, a good display, so the display is full HD, meaning 1920 by 1080 IPS, so the colors and the colors are all very clear, the image is clear. And the viewing angles are also amazing, because with my first laptop I had a very, very bad TN display, and even if you're looking directly at it, it still feels like you're not looking at it, like you're missing something. The colors don't look right, no matter how you look at it, and you can see that the light isn't even, whereas here it's just amazing. Although the brightness isn't extremely strong, which you've been able to see because the reflection was so strong, but the problem that I stumbled upon, per se, is that because it's full HD display, everything is much smaller, and Google Chrome OS doesn't really do any kind of scaling. And now that I've remembered this, where I can Google it, Google Chrome, about a week ago I was trying to remember the word scaling, but I just didn't. So I was googling like magnification, something like that. Magnification. Google wants to know your location. Well, no thank you. Yeah, I've lost more from my heart. I hope you can't hear the vacuum cleaner, and I hope that you can hear me. Only thieves are still honest, like black women goons at that GOWN, like the fishnet thingy that women wear at the funerals, that have cover, it covers their face, also at the wedding. Gone, a gone, from medieval Latin, guna, is a usually loose outer garment, from knee to full length, worn by men and women in Europe, from the early Middle Ages to the 17th century and continuing today in certain professions. Later, gown was applied to any full-length women's garment concealing a bodice and attached skirt. A long, loosely fitted gown called a banyan was worn by men in the 18th century as an informal coat. The gowns worn today by academics, judges and some clergy derive? Oh yeah, of course, and some clergy derive directly from the everyday garments worn by their medieval predecessors, formalized into a uniform in the course of 16th and 17th century. Quite cool, actually. I do wish to write a story in Slovenian language one day. But as is now, it's just English. Also, this much, not very well visible, is my theory on time, which is why when I was watching the newest season of Doctor Who, when he's a professor at a university, I got somewhat angry because he was explaining the theory of time, which is impossible as it contradicts this theory, and I do strongly believe that this theory is correct. And as I've shown before, the title is a bit loose, I guess, but I'll just read it out and we'll see, okay? I'll read it after I finish writing this mail so that I don't forget to send it. sent. I will, however, search my inbox to see. How did I not see this? Well, I found she sent me an email 5 years ago. She found screen replacements for her phone because she broke the screen and her phone didn't turn on anymore, which I later found out was because she somewhat burned the charging cable, so I just bought the new adapter and then she could use it again. But yeah, she also broke her screen, which at the time I didn't manage to fix because I didn't have the tools nor the actual screen to replace. But this is very cool. I hope she'll see my mail. So yeah, I guess back on time. Now, when I was writing this, I wasn't certain in what way or form I should write, so I decided to just write it down as if I was telling it to someone else. At least at the start it was this way. It's not a lot though. How should I start? I guess I should start with the basics. Everything is relative. You hear that phrase very often. At least if you're talking with me, because I do tend to use it a lot. This phrase, everything is relative, is a lie. The correct statement is something like everything that exists is relative, right? Everything that exists is relative. ... That is because the stuff that humans imagined, some of it, is absolute. Absolute? what's the correct pronunciation? Absolute. That is because humans have set very specific rules for some of the stuff that they've imagined, right? Probably the most notable example of that is math. Now, everything that a human will create, more or less, don't take me for the word, because this just popped into my mind, will be absolute, because to create something you need to set some boundaries, where relative means that there are no boundaries, right? Math is absolute. Math, however, doesn't exist. I don't see any point in arguing that. But yeah, math doesn't exist. It wasn't here before we came. It's just it's concept. Like language is concept. We created it. It didn't exist before we came here. We gave it life. Now, this is in brackets. Now that I think about it, time is in a way in a quantum state. Oh yeah, math, however, doesn't exist. Humans created the concept of math. Yeah, I mentioned it. Now that I think about it, time is in a way in a quantum state. In some ways it exists, and in some ways it doesn't. Time is like frames in a video. It can't go below 0. You can't watch videos before they happen. Like video editors will have much easier time picturing this in their mind, but I'll try to quickly draw what I mean. When you're editing videos, is that visible? I think it is. Maybe. I don't know. But when you're editing videos, like I had here... Oh, well, I should do it with darker pen. It'd be much easier to see then. Let's see. Ooh. That scared the hell out of me. I thought I damaged the computer maybe. Height. This is where the video starts, and so on. You start with 0 frames, and then it goes on. This video is in 60 frames per second, meaning every time a second ticks, 60 images were taken. And then when you view these 60 images, it makes it feel like it's animated, but in fact you're just watching still images very quickly. So time is like frames in a video. It can't go below 0. You can't see a video before it starts. But time in every moment, tick, tick, now, 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 it starts again somehow. This is how you can imagine it. So now is 0, now is 0, now is 0, now is 0, and so on for infinity and beyond. The only way one could travel in time is forwards, right? Time starts always with 0 and it goes on like this. Let's say this is time. We can't go back, but we can influence the way we perceive the speed of time. Let's say a good example is frames per second in a video. You can watch video with 30 frames or with 60 frames or anything in between. Animations are in like 15 frames or even less, depending on what's needed at the moment. So you can observe time and observe it at 60 frames or at 30 frames. You have different speeds of perceiving time. I hope this makes sense. And we're constantly traveling forwards, but never backwards in time. Now, time per se, at least time that I'm talking about, is speed the neighbors are outside, shirtless. The time that I'm talking about is actually speed of processing photons. See, this is why I said that it's in a quantum state where it exists and it doesn't. Because speed of processing photons is speed of processing photons, it's not time. But if you were to look at it a bit differently, this is actually what humans would call time. Right? Speed of processing photons. Which means that if you move at the speed of photons, everything stands still. Side note, we know that photons have a lifespan of something, I don't know, but they have life. What would you see if you were moving at the speed of photons? What would you see once that time passes? Interesting indeed. Now, the way our eyes work is that we have sensors in them. Sensors. I mean, I say sensors, but oops, I didn't mean to close. Our eyes, I can actually draw this again, the black pen. This is the inside of our eye, although we don't have only cylinders per se. I don't know what shape they actually are, but they essentially are sensors, right? So when the photon hits the sensor creates an electrical impulse, electrical charge, and then the charge travels on the nerve, which basically works like a wire, to the brain center, where those electrical impulses or pulses are then processed into what we see, right? Did I explain that in a way that it's understandable? I think I did. So, light reaches the sensor, and this is a camera, right? Light reaches the sensor creates electricity, the electricity goes to the chip, in our case part of the brain, and that chip then not transfers, but one could say transcode, but it doesn't transcode, it converts the electricity created by the sensor into an image. That is why more megapixels isn't always better. That's why iPhones, even though they have less megapixels, are able to create good images, because the systems they use the software they used to convert the electricity into an image is that much better, right? Yeah. Even if you have 1000 megapixels camera, if you don't have a good software, it won't make a good image. That's why this camera is like 16 megapixels, but the images that it makes could be better. It's software. So many people aren't aware how similar computers actually are to brain. But yeah, what we see is the reaction, I guess, of the software that's in our brain. So, sensor in our eye is hardware, the same as this camera, except much more denser, higher quality per se. The nerves are wires that connect the sensor to the CPU, central processing unit, aka the optical part. Well, I don't know if it's called optical, but the part of the brain that controls vision. Let's see. Oof. Occipital lobe. Occipital lobe is the back part of the brain that is involved with vision. Okay, so I was right. Let's just see the image to see if I'm pointing at proxim. Yeah, it's right here. Occipital lobe. That's why when I was younger and my brother pushed me off the bed like 2 meters high, I hit the concrete floor with this part of the head, and so I was blind. That's how I became blind for I don't know how long, but for extended period of time, which was a very interesting experience, which is probably why I value sight that much. So back to the time. What I'm saying that time is at least for humans, it's the speed at which we're processing our surroundings. Now, this is my theory, and I know it's not perfectly correct. Some aspects of it are correct, some of course aren't, because do people that don't see have feeling or perception of time? Do blind people perceive time? Like, how do they perceive it? That is a very interesting question. How do blind people perceive time? Because according to my theory, they don't. I could Google this actually. Let's see. How do blind people perceive time? This is from Quora, and it says few blind people can't distinguish light from dark. There's almost no one who is without even light perception, which does show that my theory could be correct, where if you can't perceive light, if you can't see light, you can't perceive time. Now, I'm not saying that, but that is the downside of my theory. But it says that very few people that they can't even perceive light, because for my theory to work, all you need to do is perceive light. Means that all you need to do is have 1 pixel of light getting into your brain, right? Imagine having an eye that can see only 1 pixel. Very bad, but that's all my theory needs to work. And then blind people live in the same world the rest of us do. They know when the stores are open, when they're closed, they go to work during the day, get tired from work, and are ready for bed in a few hours after dinner. They know when other people are awake to call or text, and when they're not. Yeah, that's his theory, that very few blind people can't see light at all. Tells us that those people that are blind still see light. in one way or another. Maybe they can't tell shapes, but they see light, which is very important because when our brain uses melatonin, something like that, I don't know the exact pronunciation in English, but it is melatonin or something like that. That chemical or compound is used to, in a way, sedate you. So when our brain sees that it's dark and it has a lot of melatonin, which gets produced in the evening or so, it makes you sleepy. Now, just to be sure, I will check. Let's see. Melatonin. Is it melatonin or melatonin? Melatonin. Melatonin. Melatonin, also known as N-acetylene 5-methoxytryptamine, is a hormone that is produced by pineal gland in animals and regulates sleep and wakefulness. Melatonin is also produced in plants, where it functions as a first line of defense against oxidative stress. In animals, melatonin is involved in the environment. In animals, melatonin is involved in the entertainment. It's not entertainment. Entrainment. Well, in animals, melatonin is involved in the entrainment synchronization of circadian rhythms, including sleep-wake timing, blood pressure regulation, seasonal reproduction, and many others. So I think I was correct, but I won't dwell on this too much because I want to get back on my time. So what we've learned is that most of blind people still see light. Okay? And for this theory to work, all you need is 1 pixel. I guess if I had a lot of people, we could test if people that can't perceive light can't perceive time. We would do that by covering people's eyes so that no light can get in, and thus then checking in different periods of time to see how much time they think has passed. So if time is 0, you're processing time at your maximum capacity depending on the speed of input, which should be constant. Now, don't take the values here as strict as you might think, because I added 1 minus the equation and it just flips everything. You'll see later, but the interesting thing here is which should be constant. Now, should be, not must be, but should be. That is, we know we perceive light at the speed of photon is what, 300,000 kilometers per second, a little bit less, or about. That's the maximum speed of photons, right? So here I have written time is one's perception of incoming photons. Where the speed of light should be constant. So let's see, because I've changed this equation quite a lot, but I guess we could go through my thought process. So I started with t, time equals velocity of the observer minus velocity of light. Observer being in this case us humans. Observer humans or animals. I do wonder, how would, if you were to blind a rat so much that no light can get into their eyes, how would that affect their life span? Anyways, time equals velocity of the observer minus velocity of light, which then follows up if t is 0. It means that time has stopped. Another neighbor? Well, the parent of the previous neighbor. This time with all clothes on. And hanging a lot of clothes on the line to dry out. So, as I've said, you could just add 1 minus the equation and it turns around. That's why I said that if time is 0, it's not that important to focus on that. But time equals 1 minus bracket velocity of the observer divided by the velocity of light, which would then follow that if time is 0, time equals time stop, right? Everything would stand still. Which makes me think, does the lifespan of photon, is the lifespan of photon connected to the distance it travels? Anyways, at this first page, that this is so janky. But at this first page, the finished product of the formula was 1 minus velocity of the observer divided by velocity of light. I added the 1 minus at the beginning because that way the number is always between 0 and 1. Okay? So 1 minus velocity of the observer divided by velocity of light, meaning if the observer is moving with 300,000 kilometers per second, same as light, that would be 1, so 300,000 divided by 300,000, which is 1. 1 minus 1 equals 0, therefore no time is passing for you. It seems I have a hair stuck in some of my wires. Here I also say that velocity of light should be constant. That's a should, not a must. And now, whilst I was writing a bit more, I stepped a bit into the philosophy. Right? So, you must have heard of expression sand of time, which I'll Google. Sand of time, let's see. Sand of time, idiom, sure. It's an item in World of Warcraft It's a movie, Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. And it's also a game, but the idiom Sand of Time. The Sands of Time is an English idiom relating to the passage of time to the sand and in an hourglass. The hourglass is an antiquated timing instrument consisting of two glass chambers connected vertically by a narrow passage, which allows sand to trickle from the upper part to the lower part by means of gravity. The amount of sand determines the amount of time that passes as the chamber is emptied. The image of this... There's no image. Uses of the idiom Sands of Time. The phrase was used in the 7th stanza. A group of lines forming the basic recurring metric unit in a poem, a verse. So a verse of poem, The Psalm of Life by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and the parting leaving behind us footprints on the sands of time. So I was thinking, why do we say sand of time or sands of time? Here they note to the hourglass, but when you think about it, when you really think about it, time itself is infinity. This is what I said, that it's in quantum state, because it doesn't exist and it does exist. I don't really know how to explain, but in a way time is infinity, right? And in infinity the best way to explain this would be, imagine that you are time. To you, everything that is around you is either nothing or dust. Dust could be sand per se, right? So, because that's the only thing that's left in time, right? The more time passes, all that's left is dust or sand. Regarding the formula, the previous page left, well, I read the previous even though it's crossed out. Regarding the formula on the page left, what if you're moving away from the light source? If you're moving away from the light source, your movement, your velocity is essentially negative, right? If you're moving at 10 kilometers away from the object, your velocity would be minus 10, which would mean that my formula that was written on the previous page, time could be more than 1. Which can't be, because time is between 0 and 1. And as I said, that time is infinite. This also points to that, because between 0 and 1 there are infinite amount of numbers. Quite fascinating, right? You don't think much about it. that between 0 and 1 there is infinity, even though the numbers themselves seem so small. There's infinity between them. So what if you're moving away from the light source? Which would mean that the formula would go above 1. So I think then the perception would be delayed, and if we are accelerating away from the light source, then to the person moving away it would seem as if their time is slowing down. But this can only be done to the end of photon's life, meaning no traveling backwards in time. Because when you think about it, time is actually just photons, right? Without photons, matter exists, but you're not aware of it. And due to human psychology, if you're not aware of something, scientifically speaking, it doesn't exist. That is why in science they say gods don't exist, because you're not aware of them. And you're okay saying that, because if you're not aware of something, there's no way to prove it, unless you can prove it, which shows to gamma rays and such, which a normal human isn't aware of, but we can measure it. Okay, so now that I think about it, the formula should be minus 1 minus the absolute of velocity of the observer divided by velocity of light. Or in other words, right. Now I wrote in brackets, maybe even negative can be, so that velocity of observer divided by velocity of light isn't absolute. Here, absolute meaning it has to be a positive number, it can't be a negative number. That's why I have them in the absolution, in those straight lines, right? That is to say, velocity of observer divided by velocity of light will always be a positive number, an absolute number. Yes. And this is where it stopped for now. Now let's just recollect our thoughts and think about this. I did post a question in Quora if this formula 1 minus velocity of the observer divided by velocity of light already exists in any equation, but they didn't want to give me an answer. I guess it's kind of my fault. I asked if anyone knows to what this formula is referring to, but they said that the question is too vague. Too vague. Vague, uncertain, undefined, or unclear character or meaning. I personally think that question is very clear. I mean, does this formula mean anything? so that when I would tell to people that this formula with which I came up is for perception of time, I wouldn't be in a way taking someone else's glory. You know, if someone else had already came up with that formula, that I wouldn't be taking their thunder per se. But I'm guessing no one has before, and there are no equations on the perception of time Wikipedia. Time perception is a field of study within psychology, cognitive linguistics and neuroscience that refers to the subjective experience of time, which is measured by someone's own perception of the duration of indefined and unfolding of events. Perceived time intervals between two successive events is referred to as perceived duration. Another person's perception of time cannot be directly experienced or understood, but it can be objectively studied and inferred through a number of scientific experiments. Time perception is a construction of the brain that is manipulatable and distortable under certain circumstances. These temporal illusions help to expose the underlying neural mechanisms of time perception. Pioneering work emphasizing species-specific differences was conducted by Carl Ernst von Baer. Citation needed. Experimental work began under the influence of psychophysical notions of Gustav Theodor Fechner, with studies of the relationship between perceived and measured time. William J. Friedman, 1993, also constructed two theories of a sense of time. The strength model of time memory. This posit a memory trace that persists over time, by which one might judge the age of a memory, and therefore how long the event remembered occurred, from the strength of the trace. This conflicts with the fact that memories of recent events may fade more quickly than more distant memories. Second, the interference model suggests the time of an event is interfered from information about relations between the event in question and other events whose date or time is unknown. Another theory involves brain subconscious telling of pulses during a specific intervals, forming a biological stopwatch. This theory allegates correctly. This theory allege? I think it's allegates. Anyway, that the brain can run multiple biological stopwatches at one time depending on the time of task one is involved in. The location of these pulses and what these pulses actually consist of is unclear. This model is only a metaphor and does not stand up in terms of brain psychology or anatomy. I'm gonna create an account and add my theory to this article so that others can see and correct it, and better yet, improve on it. One thing that I should say about this laptop is that the keyboard is very good. At least to me personally, it's very, maybe I can even show this. The keyboard's very flat, but it still feels very tactile, right? Seems like, oh, I already have an account. Okay. What's good is I have my monitor here where I can see what camera is recording, but sometimes the the monitor is lagging a bit, so I hope that the video isn't lagging itself. Let's just check. It is very hot though, but I hope that it won't ruin the video. I did write a date when I wrote this down, so that yeah, I knew when I wrote it, and I wrote it 26th of March 2017, not that long ago. And the psychology and updated version of updated, I guess in a way corrected, of time is 22nd of April 2017. Now, I was thinking the spreadsheet table, right, with weeks left to expected end of life. What I was thinking, what should I do videos about? I want to have something educational, something that when people watch the video they have something to take from the video. So I was thinking of going to the Wikipedia and pressing a random article, and then talking about that. But the thing is, sometimes you get strange things. So now I got Samuel Johnson, New Zealand editor. Samuel Johnson, 16th of March 1827 to 6th of August 1905, was a New Zealand printer, newspaper proprietor, meaning the owner of a business or holder of property, and editor. He was born in Manchester, Lancashire, or is it Lancashire? I hope it's not it could be Lancashire. Uncertain. England. He was born 16th of March 1827. After a career After a career in journalism and printing in Castleford in Yorkshire, Johnson emigrated to New Zealand in the company of William Rawson Remy's Albertland settlers. The Albertlanders intended to set up a model community in New Zealand. Johnson had been appointed the group's editor and printer. He left the group in 1862 after working in Auckland and Dunedin. Wait, that will increase. Before returning to Albertown in 1863. The settlement collapsed in 1864, and by 1866 Johnson was living in Blenheim, where he and brother Thomas established the Marlborough Express. That's cool. Something similar to Marlborough. Okay, so they established Marlborough, which sounds very similar to Marburg, which is the old name for a nearby city here. A nearby city called Maribor. So they established Marlborough Express. I'm probably pronouncing this extremely poorly. Originally a weekly paper, the Express's circulation eventually increased to twice weekly, now owned by Australian giant Fairfax Media. It prints daily. That's nice. Johnson was elected to Marlborough Provincial Council in 1872. He resigned in 1874. He sold his newspaper in 1879 before returning briefly to England. Back in New Zealand from 1884, he lived in Waipawa and worked for Waipawa Mail and Hawke's Bay Herald. Until his death at age 78, Johnson was active in Anglican Church, the Freemasons, and his local community. He was survived by his wife Teresa and their 2 children. References are a Dictionary of New Zealand Biography, Ministry of Culture and Heritage. what I wanted to do with my friend in high school was create a show called Hint of Death, or in Slovenian Priduh Smrti, in which we would for each day tell which people died on that day and what they accomplished. Just tell something about them, because there's so many people that are just being lost to time, that having someone or something reflect on them or just reflect them would be very nice. So for example, this video should be out on 17th of August 2017. So 17th of August. I don't know why, but it suggested the German side first. Let's see, English. I really enjoy going through the Wikipedia and just having the time, like the date on, because it really gives you perspective of how much happened on a single day. So August 17th is the 229th day of the year, 230th day in leap years in the Gregorian calendar. There are 136 days remaining until the end of the year. This date is slightly more likely to fall on a Monday, Wednesday or Friday. 58 in 400 years each. Then on Saturday or Sunday, 57, and slightly less likely to occur on Thursday or Tuesday, 56. Surprisingly enough, it is Thursday this time around. So I'll just skim through so that you get a feel for how much happens. Events in 309 to 310, Pope Eusebius is banished by the Emperor Maxentius to Sicily, where he dies, perhaps from a hunger strike. In 1986, Byzantine-Bulgarian Wars, Battle of the Gates of Trajan. The Bulgarians under the Pachabelly, Samuel and Aaron defeated the Byzantine forces at the Gate of Trajan, with Byzantine Emperor Basil II barely escaping. In 1186, Georgian-Berg Pact, Ottokar IV, Duke of Styria, and Leopold V, Duke of Austria, sign a heritage agreement in which Ottokar gives his duchy. What's duchy? Duchery. Duchy to Leopold and to his son Frederick under the stipulation. Many big words. Stipulation is a condition or requirement that is specified or demanded as part of an agreement that Austrian Styria would henceforth remain undivided. What is Styria? Interesting. Styria is first as a company in the dictionary here, but wow, Styria is Steyerska. It's a like a state, I guess, where I live even. Awesome indeed. Okay. Many alliances in 1668, in 1668, a magnitude 8 earthquake caused 8,000 deaths in Ottoman Empire. American Civil War, World War II, US Marines raid Japanese held Pacific island of Makin. In 2008, American swimmer Michael Phelps becomes the first person to win 8 gold medals at one Olympic Games. So yeah, I think I still want to expand this idea of a hint of death, because I think it could be very interesting. So many births as well, so many people and so many deaths. The oldest death recorded is in 754. Carloman, mayor of the Palace of Austrasia. Also holidays. Oh, nice. Birthday of Marcus Garvey, Rastafari. Christian feast day. Clare of the Cross. Hyacinth of Poland. Jacob Cushey. Tomonaga. Jane Delano. Jean Gerard, Lutheran. Mimems of Caesarea, Catholic Church. Samuel Johnson, Timothy Cotter and Thomas Bradbury Chandler. Wow, what a coincidence. Samuel Johnson. But this Samuel H. Johnson is not the same as the one that I read before. This is American educator. Engineers Day in Colombia. Flag Day in Bolivia. Independence Day in Indonesia. They celebrate independence from Japan in 1945. Independence Day for Gabon, where Gabon celebrates independence from France in 1960. Prekmurje Union Day in Slovenia. Whoa, what a coincidence. And St. Martin Day in Argentina. This is very cool. Oh, BBC on this day, 17th of August, in the year 1998, Clinton admits Lewinsky affair. President of the United States Bill Clinton admits having an inappropriate relationship with former White House intern Monica Lewinsky. Wow. 1987, Hitler's deputy found dead Rudolf Hess, Hitler's former right-hand man, is found dead in Spandau prison. Spandau prison. That's a German prison. 1999, Turkey hit by a huge earthquake. The most powerful earthquake to hit Turkey leaves at least 1,000 people dead. Now that's interesting because Wikipedia wait, let me find. Wow. So 17th of August in 1668 there's an earthquake with a magnitude of 8 which causes 8,000 deaths in Anatolia in Ottoman Empire. And then in 1999 the 7.6 magnitude, that's in Izmit earthquake, shakes the northwest Turkey with maximum Mercalli intensity of 9 bracket violent close bracket, leaving 17 around, so a bit more than 17,000 dead and around 40 to 50,000 injured. This is really an interesting date. Let's say date because quite interesting how much of today in this video is connected to time. As I've said, time is infinite. So this 17th of August, 17.8 point, the year is infinite. All that happens from before counting to after counting. Imagine in 10 years what more will happen and much more will be recorded of happening. In 100 years there'll be so much more data. So 17th of August 2005, over 500 bombs are set off by terrorists at 300 locations in 36 out of the 34 districts of Bangladesh. $500 bombs. So back to BBC. In 2000, Prince William makes the grade. Prince William passes 3 A-levels and secures a place to study history of art at the oldest university in Stockholm. At the oldest university in Scotland, St. Andrews. In 1978, US balloonists record Atlantic crossing. 3 Americans make the first crossing of the Atlantic Ocean by hot air balloon. Wow, now that must be awesome. This must be so awesome. Have you ever traveled by a hot air balloon? I personally haven't, but I do want to one day. this is really cool. In 1908, Phantasmagoria. Okay, 1908, Phantasmagoria. I'm probably pronouncing this wrong because it's French. Is a French animated movie by Émile Cohl or Soho. It is one of the earliest examples of traditional, meaning hand-drawn animation, and considered by film historians to be the first animated cartoon. The film largely consists of stickmen moving about and encountering all manner of morphing objects, such as a wine bottle that transforms into a flower. There were also sections of live action where the animator's hand would enter the scene. The main character is drawn by the artist's hand on a camera, and the main characters are a clown and a gentleman. The film, in all of its wild transformations, is a direct tribute to the by then forgotten incoherent movement. The incoherence was a short-lived French art movement founded by Parisian, a writer from Paris. Parisian writer and publisher Jules Louis. Very cool. The title is a reference to the Phantasmograph, a mid-19th century variant of the magic lantern that projected ghostly images that floated across the walls. Cohl worked on Phantasmagoria from February to either May or June 1908. Despite the short running time, the piece was packed with material diverse in stream of consciousness style. Film was released on August 17th, 1908. Production. The film was created by drawing each frame on a paper and then shooting each frame into negative film, which gave the picture a blackboard look. It was made up of 700 drawings, each of which was exposed twice, animated Untitled, leading to a running time of almost 2 minutes. It borrowed from J. Stewart Blackton the chalk line effect, filming black lines on a white paper, then reversing the negative to make it look like white chalk on a black chalkboard. Blackton and Cohl also borrowed some techniques from Georges Méliès, such as the stop trick. 700 drawings. Which means that the film was at about 6 frames per second. And it still looks fluid with 6 frames per second, still very fluid and very cool. How do you enter on Wikipedia into the graphical editor? Okay, visual editor. On 17th of August 1883, there was the first public performance of Dominican Republic's national anthem, Himno Nacional. In 1914, World War I Battle of Stallupönen, the German army of General Hermann von Franzois defeated the Russian forces commanded by Paul von Rennenkampf near modern-day Nesterov, Russia. In 1915, Jewish American Leo Frank is lynched in Marietta, Georgia, after a 13-year-old girl is murdered. So much war. So much war, so much conflict. It's like from the events on these dates there's like no discovery, at least none that would pop out, but let me just quickly check. Banished, war, agreement, war. Ah. (1597) Islands Voyage, Robert de Verus, second Earl of Essex, and Sir Walter Raleigh set sail on expedition to the Azores. War. In 1798, the Vietnamese Roman Catholics report a Marian apparition in Quang Tri, an event which is called Our Lady of Lawang. This is cool. 1807. Robert Fulton's North River Steamboats leaves New York City for Albany, New York on the Hudson River, inaugurating the first commercial steamboat service in the world. That's cool. 1907. Pike Place Market, a popular tourist destination in the registered historic district in Seattle, is opened. Ooh, wow, this is awesome. Not this. I'll say one thing before the "this is awesome" one that I wanted, but yeah, 1953, addiction. First meeting of Narcotics Anonymous takes place in Southern California. The awesome one is this. 1958, Pioneer 0. America's first attempt at lunar orbit is launched using the first Thor Avo rocket and fails. Notable as one of the first attempt launches beyond Earth orbit by any country. And this is awesome. Although it failed, it's still very awesome. Venera program, 1970. Venera 7 launched. It will later become the first spacecraft to successfully transmit data from the surface of another planet, Venus. Oh. 1977, the Soviet icebreaker Arktika. Such a lame name. Arktika, literally meaning the Arctic, becomes the first surface ship to reach North Pole. (1978) Double Eagle 2 becomes the first balloon to cross Atlantic Ocean when it lands in Missouri, France, near Paris. 137 hours after leaving Presque Isle in Maine. Still, a lot of interesting stuff happened. Maybe I should make like 3 shows. One going through the events, the other going through birth, and I just see my cat at the neighbor's wall. One going through events, one going through birth, and one going through death. Quite a lot of births as well. This is very cool. Now making these for every day could be quite exhausting, and because it's a lot of information, if you were just to cram it into a 5-minute video, it maybe wouldn't be so good. So maybe look at the whole week, pull out the good stuff, Now if I were to eliminate war from it, it would make it a bit more positive, but those that do not know the history are bound to repeat it. Also, bloop 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 bloop. Surprisingly enough, these came with 2 batteries, one installed and one to be installed later, which is cool because not a lot of hardware these days comes with batteries. By that I mean hardware that takes batteries. Per se, this dictaphone handy recorder from Zoom H1 didn't come with batteries. Now I personally think that hardware should come with batteries, but they shouldn't be installed, because if they're installed in time, the acid leaks and they corrode, I think it's corrode. Corrode, destroy or damage metal, stone or other materials slowly by chemical action. You must have seen it, like it gets all creamy and greasy in there and crystals form. Designed by June in Japan, assembled in China. But yeah, devices should come with batteries, but not installed. I was thinking this the other day, like, because collectors that buy very old technology, some of those have batteries in them and it ruins the electronics and everything. Not very nice. But if they were just added in, would be much better. But these days we don't have these problems much, because we have lithium batteries, which, if handled properly, should be okay. But those in time, if not constructed correctly, or being of poor quality, they tend to bloat a bit, which isn't very good. I'm writing the article, but I'm uncertain. I'm like, name created a theory, Or would it be proposed? Maybe proposed. Proposed. What's the definition for quantifying? Quantifying, let's see. Express or measure the quantity of. I guess this could be. Lucas Sharper proposed the theory and the formula quantifying the speed of perception of time. In 26.03 2017. Although what's the definition of denote? Be a sign of, indicate, denote. I'm quite certain that this article, though, well, not article, this bit that I will add in Wikipedia won't get accepted, since I didn't publish my theorem as of yet, and the birds are flying by very viciously. But I still hope that someone will take a look at it and tell me what they think. At the start. Surprisingly enough, in the last 2 hours, the battery hasn't dropped a single %, which could be good or very bad. Good meaning that it's stabilized, bad meaning that it stopped recording. There's a website called Hemingway, I believe, in which you can copy or even write in your stories, and it would go through whole text and just check the construction and then grade it depending on what level of a grade someone's understanding and reading capabilities have to be to understand your story. And so I've wrote this story, which the app just crashed, but now that I've reconnected it, interesting, it still says that it is recording. I wonder what would happen if I were to connect onto the app with my phone as well. Also, I can't wait when they fully release the app support for Chromebooks, for all Chromebooks, because then I will be able to use the Yi Action app from Android on the laptop, and I'll be able to see that way whilst recording, which is awesome. So I'm gonna read you this story that I wrote about 10 days ago or more, a few weeks ago. So I'm first going to read you the story that I wrote, and then I'll write a bit in the Wikipedia, and then I'll read again the version of this story that went through the Hemingway editor. Is it Hemingway? Hemingwayapp.com. That's H or H EMINGWAYAPP.com. Yeah, very terrible, but oops, here you get graded, and below the grade you have like two adverbs meeting the goal of 2 or few, 1 use of passive word meeting the goal of 2 or fewer, 1 phrase has a similar alternative, 1 of 11 sentences is hard to read, 1 of 11 sentences is very hard to read. So I'm uncertain which version is which. Okay, I think I know. What happens if I force the app into this position? Still seems to work. Okay. I should probably drink a bit before I start reading. It's very short. The Hemingway app website. This is website editor, like online editor. Also gives an approximation of how long the story is in time-wise, and it said less than 2 minutes for this one, so very short. Soldiers running towards the setting sun, children screaming in the background, and all I could do was just stand there and shiver in horror of what's coming next. The giant black figure flew towards the sun, completely covering it, and thus making everything dark as if it was night. Out of the ground sprung thousands and thousands of bony hands, some partially covered with flesh. Everything was shaking as these skeletons rose up from the ground. Soldiers running away, screaming, panicking. The sky is filled with arrows. Even those soldiers that tried to run soon fell on the ground, pierced by an arrow. Only few of us survived, huddling together and forming a turtle-like shell with our shields. Somewhat calmly, Mike said, "So, what now?" A soldier named Mia started to draw a circle, triangle, square, and a pentagram on the ground, and starts to chant. But she's quickly interrupted by Bane. "You can't do this. It will rip off your arm." "Not if I focus," replied Mia, and continues to chant. Lisa added, "Besides, it's not like we have any other option. It's either this or death to skeletons and swarms of arrows." Mia, "Defins ad domum, ubi patria est lunaria, velut reptilia, et super me et eso circa me iter in terra, sanguinem et luto, deorum mihi vires." Earth, blood and mud below the soldiers' feet starts to bubble and swirl. Mia shouts, "Grab onto me and throw away your shields." As soon as they manage to throw away the shields, all the arrows start flying towards them, and few almost hit Mike in the head. Moments later, they're pulled into the ground with incredible force, throwing a lot of dirt and mud into the air and all around. Lunaria is a small village with a well in the middle of the village square. Mostly built out of wood and stone, but some of the more important buildings, like shrine, school, barracks, are supported with metal frames. The main attraction in the evenings is, of course, Thrin, which is a local inn that has multiple trees growing through it, supporting the whole building and just generally looking cool. At least that's what the inn owner Serena thinks. The dirt road in front of the inn starts to bubble and shake, swirled, and out of the swirly mud are thrown 5 people, completely covered in mud. Lisa, a bit worried, asks, "Mia, are you okay? How do you feel? You seem to still have all of your limbs, so that's okay." "Yeah, I feel okay, just very, very thirsty and hungry," replied Mia. "Well then, you're in luck. We landed right where we needed to be, at the Thrin. Can't wait to see Serena again," added Will, who's already marching towards the inn. Others soon follow, Mia standing a bit and looking at the damage of the spell. Mia standing a bit and looking at the damage the spell did to the road, then walks to the inn, but quickly slips, falling on the ground, spitting a lot of blood out of her mouth. Lisa, who noticed this, asks, "Are you okay? Do you need any help?" "Nah, I'm okay. Go and join the others. I'll be right behind you," replied Mia as she was getting back on her feet. Okay, so that's the story thus far. So I'll continue writing the part in the Wikipedia. The E action has this is very bad. Mosquitoes are coming in. Okay. I don't know why did it start crashing again. Maybe there's like a weird bug when the camera's been running for 3 hours. Okay. Can I make this bold? 26th of March 2017. How are the dates written in Wikipedia? Generally. Let's see. I see August. On August 17, 1996, Jake Virtanen was born, who is a Canadian professional ice hockey winger. Winger probably. Let me check. Winger. He's probably on wing. Wing. Yeah. Currently plays for the Baltic Comets in the American Hockey League. AHL. Virtanen was drafted by the Vancouver Canucks 6th overall in the 2014 NHL entry draft. Yeah, Wikipedia really is amazing. Oh, I see. Oops, no. You insert a math formula. T equals. Oops. Okay, this is cool. how dark it got. Okay. Now that you've had some time to forget what I read before and read it again. But now it's the version that I edited through Hemingway app, which you really should check out, because you've probably forgotten. Wait, let me pause this. So much darker. You've probably forgotten about the app when you'll be watching this again. Okay. I should read. My throat is a bit sore. I'm not used to talking. At least not so much. Also, I need to pee. Soldiers running through the setting sun. God, start again. So, this. Soldiers running towards the setting sun. Children. Also, I'm not recording with this one because I don't have the SD card in it, micro SD, and because I didn't look for the USB cable so that I could power it, and just have it. And because the standard goes into this, oops, where's the light? Come on, light. Oh, I'm so useless. There we go. Oh, there we go. See? Oops, here. The stand that I got with the device I'm using for the camera. Okay? Okay. I'll read this in the old man voice. I'm an old man. Old but wise. Soldiers, I am Deckard Cain, the last of the Harad. Soldiers running towards the setting sun, children screaming in the background, and all I could do was stand there and shiver in the horror of what's coming next. Giant black figure flew towards the sun, completely covering it, and thus making everything dark as if it was night. Out of the ground sprung thousands and thousands of bony hands, some covered with flesh. Everything was shaking as those skeletons rose up from the ground. Soldiers running away, screaming, panicking. The sky fills with arrows. Even those soldiers that tried to run soon fell on the ground, pierced by an arrow. Only few of us survived, huddling together and forming a turtle-like shell with our soldiers. With the convoys, my cast. So what now? Mia starts to draw a triangle, circle, square and a pentagram on the ground and starts to chant. But she's interrupted by Bane. You can't do this. It'll rip you. It'll rip your arm off. Not if I focus.
replied Mia and continues to chant. Lisa added,
And besides, it's not like we have any other option. It's either this or that, the skeletons and swarms of arrows.
Mia.
The hins ad domum ubi patriae est lunaria, velut reptilia, et super me et eos circa me iter in terra sanguinem et luta, deorum mihi vires.
Earth, blood, and mud below the soldier's feet starts to bubble and swirl.
Grab onto me and throw away your shields,
shouts Mia. As soon as the shields hit the ground, all arrows start flying towards them. In just a moment, they get pulled into the ground with incredible force. Dirt and mud gets thrown into the air and all around. Lunaria is a small village with a well in the middle of the village square, built out of wood and stone. Some of more important buildings are with metal frames. The main attraction in the evening is of course Trin, which is a local inn that has many trees growing through it, supporting the whole building and generally looking cool. At least that's what the inn's owner Serena thinks. The dirt road in front of the inn starts to bubble and swirl. Then out of dirt, 5 people get thrown into the air, landing hard on the ground, completely covered in mud. Lisa, a bit worried, asks,
Mia, are you okay? How do you feel? You seem to still have all of your limbs, so that's okay. Yeah, I'm okay, very thirsty and hungry, replied
Mia.
Well, you're in luck. We landed right where you need to be, at the Throne. Can't wait to see Serena again,
added Will, who's already marching towards the inn. Others soon follow. Mia stands a bit and looks at the damage the spell did to the road, then walks to the inn but slips, falling on the ground, spitting a bit of blood out of her mouth. Lisa, who noticed this, asks,
Are you okay? Do you need help? No, I'm okay. Go and join the others. I'll be right behind you,
replies Mia as she was getting back on her feet.
It is getting very dark, and that is the end of this story. Next time. Well, I guess that's it for today. I hope you'll like this and that you'll remember some of it. The more the merrier. But what's more important is that you shared your thoughts, your visions, your view and understanding of the world, and you recorded it, so that even if you forget, you can still see it and reflect on it. That's what is important. And I'm very dark. Does this help? No. Does this help? A bit. So yeah. When you forget, watch this video again. And as always, that's what Rizzo says. I, on the other hand, will say this: if you liked what you saw, what you heard, because I would probably suggest listening to this more than watching. But if you like this, do subscribe. It does help a lot. Also, like the video if you liked, and do tell me your thoughts in the comments. Since I have no subscribers, more or less, means I have a lot of time to read every comment and even reply to every comment, so do feel free to comment and correct me whenever I'm wrong, or just tell me your opinion of what I've said. And as always, remember, you're not alone.